Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Peter Barber here, professional opera singer and music producer. And today, for the first time ever, I just checked out EPICA, a group off Nuclear Blast Records. Really enjoyed the sonic scapes that are in this song, the interesting combination of harsh vocals versus totally clean, beautiful, kind of ethereal vocals is something I don't think I've heard before in music. I really enjoyed reacting to this and doing a full musical breakdown for the first time ever. So I hope you guys enjoy as well. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you afterwards. What an intro. What an intro. This is wild. Just like the soundscape that's being created here. Almost like twisted, dark carnival kind of thinking. There's also some organ happening. We, of course, have this child singing, just kind of like humming, like singing a little simple tune. And I mean, children are used all the time in like horror movies for certain effects. And for some reason, there's something eerie about it. Especially when you combine it with this kind of background sonic environment that they've created here, which is very spooky and eerie and on edge. And of course, we're not yet to the meat of this song, but it's just introducing this kind of, spooky kind of carnival atmosphere. Very cool. So this is my first experience with EPICA, and so I don't know exactly what genre they typically fit into. This is feeling like hard rock metal so far. The vocals play a lot into that. Like if our lead singer goes super harsh in the vocals, then that's obviously going to push us more towards the core, like deathcore, or sometimes the heavier metal, stuff like that. But we'll see. We don't really know right now. I don't really know right now. You guys probably know right now what's about to happen. But we get these big, heavy, low rhythm guitars, obviously heavy drums. Then we get some leading electric guitar that comes in later. It's pretty cool. It goes pretty hard. We also get this which is just a nice switch up from maybe what we're used to with, just a 4/4 time. It is that or 3/4, perhaps in this case, just divided in a way with how the eighth notes are structured to where it gives a much different drive, despite being, on paper in a more simple time signature. So it was a little different than the one I was saying, but yeah, this kind of cool syncopated rhythm happening. I think we also have some epic choir happening in the background as well. Epic choir meaning just the kind of style and the way the choir is recorded or sampled has a kind of epic feel. There's a lot of atmosphere around it. It's kind of meant to be towards the back of the sound mix. But I do think we have some choir in here as well. Yeah, for sure. All right, now it's a groove. really stretching that chest voice up there. Gorgeous voice from our lead singer here, and no grit in the sound, right? No heavy distortion yet. Maybe she'll do some later, but no distortion in the sound. It's actually a bit counterintuitive to what we hear in the instrumentation, which is so heavy, and there's a lot of distortion as you expect in, this genre, or what this genre is leaning towards at least. Usually you expect some grit and distortion in the vocals as well. So it's pretty cool to hear a totally clean vocal, fully connected to chest voice, getting up into that high belt range, but a very clean vocal with no distortion, atop this field of distortion in the instrumentation. That's a cool kind of sonic combination we don't hear super often. We're also in D minor. And she... She got a pretty close... Let's see how high she's belting here. She's getting up probably pretty close to that high D, if not that high D. It's the high A. What? How'd you get up to a high F? Is that for real? Yeah, May Ray Do. Wow, she has incredible access to a part of her upper chest range that most women do not sing in at all, much less maintaining a chest connection, and with such ease. This is crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's a high, gets all the way up to an F5. An F5, that's glorious. Okay, so we do get some distortion from our male singer here. Again, it's my first time hearing the group, so I don't know these folks yet. This is usually my first time with the group. I'll listen totally raw, and then for the next one, I'll go in and learn more about the group and learn more about the singers. So that's typically how I do things here. We had some very, very, very distorted vocals from this gentleman that comes in here. It's a ton of false fold vocal distortion happening here. Pretty airy, but pretty gravelly and guttural from the activation of the false vocal folds. Such a contrast to what we're hearing with our female lead, right? She's up clean belts in her upper range. He's down in like the middle, lower middle in that gravelly false fold distortion. So we get, totally different, ways of creating sound with your voice. That was so interesting. She goes into this head voice falsetto and starts putting vibrato in there and actually starts singing with a little bit more of that classical technique. So this is what I'm well versed in. I sing opera professionally. That's the main thing I do in a live setting, is sing opera fully professionally. And she gets into this space where she creates some space in her pharynx, lowers her larynx a bit. And what this does is it creates a warmer, darker sound and a more resonant sound, because you're using that space as your amplification system. Now, of course, this is in a studio. She doesn't have to worry about actually being super loud, but this is a technique that we as opera singers use to amplify the sound in a big space, because we do not use microphones in almost all settings. So cool to hear her go into the chorus and switch techniques that way. Also cool. There's a lot to talk about. Also interesting that when she goes into the chorus, usually that's when the vocalist is going to be highest in their range, but she actually starts lower compared to what she was doing in the verse and the bridge. So that's pretty cool. And then we also get this big epic choir coming back. you heard in the intro how it was really towards the back of the mix, and now it's much more forward. It's still not like a lead vocal, but you very clearly hear the voices in that epic choir. See how you can even see in her mouth shape in the lip sync how it goes from a more spread position to when you sing opera and when you want to create that warm sound, usually you opt for a more rounded lip position. It actually lengthens the vocal tract if you round your lips and changes the harmonics a bit. And so it creates that darker, warmer sound in addition to the throat space. All these things contribute to that more classical sound. And we actually see her do this even though it's a lip sync, so it's not the sound coming from her, in real time, but usually you lip sync similarly to how you sing things, as far as mouth shapes and stuff like that. Watch this. Oh, you hear that? You hear all that? No, women sing in a very different mode of registration than I sing as an opera singer. I sing all in my chest voice. It's all very yelly. It's really like healthy yelling. For women, it's up in this space for them. And so you can clearly hear that register shift as she moves into that. Right there. Cool. Up at a high F again. That's just crazy. We get a more active, I won't go back to the very start of this verse, but we get a more active metal riff here in the guitar compared to the first verse. I believe that's the main difference. I mean, range-wise, our lead singer's right in the same place. Timbre-wise, same. Right, it's clean high chest belting for most of the deal. Drums are similar, I believe. So it's mainly, I think, that guitar riff that's and obviously lyrics. Speaking of which, unavailable. That's the main difference between verse 1 and verse 2 here. Yeah. I love. It's such a good songwriting tool and performance tool to put that kind of thing at the end of a verse where it's been repetitive beforehand, because it switches things up, and then when the repeated material comes back, it feels fresh again because you've done something to switch it up. Boom, and then back into it. Awesome. This bridge might have been twice as long as the first one. I'm not quite sure. But I'm loving this super heavy, just like heavy kicks leading us into this chorus, right? The idea of the bridge is you want it to lead us towards kind of the climax of the song, typically going to be the final chorus, which we're not at yet. We got a couple minutes left, but another great tool to kind of add excitement into a piece. So that's that E flat right there. Again, that's way up there. Not quite to the F, but way up there. Yeah. This classical approach to this, the more epic moments of this song, it really reminds me of Nightwish and how Flora Jensen will do the same kind of thing where she'll sing a lot in this chesty, belty range, but then she'll go up and use that operatic training. Both these groups are under Nuclear Blast Records, phenomenal record label that I'm working on. We're working on some stuff together now, collaborations and stuff like that. And I'm starting to learn maybe this is a staple of the artists in that under that label, is that they use both the contemporary technique and the classical technique, which is cool because not many singers are trained classically outside of the classical world. So it's especially cool for me as an opera singer to hear some of these more classical techniques coming into play in a rock setting or a metal setting. And it's cool to hear that during the verses, it's all this contemporary style. And then really in the chorus, she switches to, her version of classical singing with the vibrato and singing in the head voice instead of the chest voice, the more spacious pharynx, all that stuff. Very, 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 very cool. Really, really enjoying this. So I said bridge earlier. What I meant to say is pre-chorus. Now this is the bridge. The bridge is typically the musical spot between the penultimate chorus and the final chorus. And usually there's usually a break from whatever we've been hearing previously, and we get that here. We get the right. We get that. It feels like a slowdown in the drums. It's really almost more like a halftime kind of feel. The tempo doesn't actually slow down. It's just the vibe is different. And then we get these soaring vocals here, a different chord progression as well. It's more atmospheric sort of than we've heard, all to present a nice break and a departure from what we've been hearing the whole time before going back into the final chorus, which is typically the most intense and the most kind of epic, you might call it. And we get that here. So really cool. So terminology, I said bridge earlier. I meant pre-chorus. This is now the bridge. I absolutely love the super, super fast kicks we get in, especially metal and like deathcore. It's so awesome. The difference in the timbre of voices and the techniques is so interesting. And you don't usually get this sharp of a contrast. So it's really funny. I just rewatched the Lord of the Rings extended versions. Hadn't watched them in a while. I had a few sick days. I'm still getting over a cold. And, her singing is it's like an elf. It's like if Galadriel were singing, right? And then our guy here is like if an Uruk-hai were singing. It's like this beautiful, heavenly, ethereal, very clean tone versus like just like all distortion. And I'm a big Lord of the Rings and fantasy nerd, so that was my first thought. Hope you enjoyed. If you like Lord of the Rings, you'll get it. You'll get it. You'll get it. just want to, it's always interesting how a group gets from a big bridge section. Like that was a particularly intense bridge. Usually bridges are actually dialed back so that the musical atmosphere, the gap between atmospheres, let's say, between the bridge and the final chorus is really significant. So you're pulled back, you're dialed back, and the final chorus comes back and hits you like a hammer. If you have a big bridge, you have to get creative with how you get back into the final chorus to still make sure it lands. I'm doing tons of big, epic original songwriting on my own right now, and that's something I've been exploring, is like, if you have a big, epic bridge section, how do you still make the final chorus hit as hard as it should, or as it would if the bridge were softer or more chill? So it's a difficult balance to strike, and I wasn't really paying attention. I want to see what they do with that here. So not much. We kind of got a hearkening back almost to how the song started, where it's more atmospheric, and I think some organ came back in, only for a couple bars. So it wasn't a big stretched out thing, and then the final chorus comes back in. So that was their tool. They brought it all down and had a very short, quiet, atmospheric moment before the final chorus comes and hits. Also, I love that. I want to just flag that too. That's another great thing to do in a chorus as well, is you have your main chorus material, you've got the lead melody, all that. And before that melody repeats, you have that ba-da-da-ba-ba. So again, it creates a little separation between the repeated material to keep it interesting. Then it repeats. Yeah. I mean, fully classical, to whatever extent this singer is trained classically to sing towards that operatic style. That's what she's doing here. I mean, full on, and I think she's done it a little. She's leaned even more into it in this final section of this final chorus, which is great. It's great to have the final chorus be separated from the previous choruses in some way. Usually, it's like an added musical element. Which there could have been. Actually, I was paying more attention to the structure in her voice there. But usually that's a good technique. Some added elements in the final chorus to make them just a little bit bigger than the previous ones. But she, I believe, revved up her classical vocals a little bit as we get to the end of the song, which is very cool. So you can hear the head voice that she's, time. Sounds way different in mine, obviously. The full vibrato, the dark space, all that stuff. This is classical. This is classical, baby. Wild. What I love about working with groups in this record label is like, it's just so different from what you hear elsewhere. And I love the idea of genre blending. I love the idea of doing things that historically musicians and groups haven't done. I think it's wonderful and exciting. And not all of it works. That's the only way to find new, great genres or blends of genres or artistic styles, is to try stuff. And some of them you're like, that didn't really work at all. But now we know. And then through that process, you find the stuff that really, really works. And I'm really enjoying this like hard rock, metal plus classical voice. I think it's very, very cool. And I know a lot of rock and metal singers get inspiration from opera singers. Now, there's a lot of crossover, surprisingly, over those two genres. Interest, anyway. There's interest in both. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for coming. This is my first ever video for EPICA. This is T.I.M.E. Just came out a few weeks ago as I record this. And if you guys enjoyed, if you learned something, please do consider joining my Patreon community. That's the best way to support me. And I'll see you in the next EPICA video. And please leave recommendations for other groups you'd like me to react to and analyze. All right, see you next time. Bye.